Hey y'all, it's MJ from All to Love. And woo! So today I want to talk about an energy update for November. And I think I'm going to make this a regular thing, really off the back of a lot of the people that I enjoy listening to on YouTube, like Lee Harris and Andrew Martin and various other teachers and speakers and stuff like that. But it's really nice to get different people's perspectives about what's happening energetically. And I suppose the reason why it's nice for us to share this stuff with one another is that, behind the veil of, what we're projecting out into the world, when we talk about what we're going through energetically, it can just help take the pressure off, right? So when we offload, right, we share that a lot of us are going through intense shifts. If you guys know or have read my book, The Fearless Life Guide, you know that part of the kind of new model for living or conscious living is actually embracing and allowing us to feel our emotions, which can be pretty intense, right? Because we're really practicing not blaming one another for how we feel. And so we have to integrate, we have to embody, we have to basically transform or process all of our most fearful, divisive, and dense emotions. Okay, so what's up in November? Last month was massive, okay? It was the completion month, and so many of us will have had pretty significant energetic shifts, which almost in an instant brought about a new perspective. And with that new perspective, we're now heading into 11. So November is sort of like a mastery number, and we just had the full moon in Taurus yesterday. So after all of the intensity of not just October, but this last sort of 2-year cycle of endings and then, completion and then new beginnings, but then also Jupiter going into Scorpio. So all of those things that are really highlighting some of our deepest depths, really, and ultimately that means our darkness, and that also means like us feeling more. And so what I recognize, not just in November, but as we move forward across the collective, is that we're gonna begin to see a lot more exposing of hidden truths. And this means that we're going to be exposing aspects of corruption and aspects of darkness in our systems, right? In our systems and structures that maybe have been with us, or what we think have been with us for a really long time. And often those are the systems that we're taught, like, you can't change anything, you can't do anything about it. And as we start to expose, or you could say shine light into those darker areas, it's gonna awaken a lot more of the collective. And so more and more people are gonna start to be like, wait a minute, that's shit, you can't do that. And so we're gonna have not just emotional upheaval, but we're gonna begin to see more rising, more collective upheaval, more people speaking their truth, more people standing up and ultimately speaking from their heart. From my perspective as well, we are going to continue to see a lot more femininity, a lot more female speakers, a lot more women kind of standing in their strength and standing in their truth and saying, no, this is not how the world is going to work anymore. And not from a place of attack, not from a place of even defense, just a place of loving compassion, a place of unity, and saying enough is enough, right? And really understanding that we're just as dark and sort of fucked up as the patriarchy. And it's not like we want there to be a matriarchy, because we don't want to create another system of imbalance. We don't want to create a world where one gender or one energy stream has more power over the other. What we're moving through, and this is why it's a quantum leap, it's not just a minute or small revolution, it's a quantum leap in the human consciousness field, that we really are looking for self-awareness and balance. And in that self-awareness comes the balance, and then comes the accessing of divine union with self, which means we as beings recognize, 1, that we are eternal, and 2, that means that all of our relationships are eternal. So, energy update for November, what I just said kind of relates to that, because with the full moon in Taurus, we're going to be feeling a lot more kind of romantic and sensual, and we're going to be looking more deeply at our patterns of intimacy with other people and what we allow for ourselves, and then also what we're giving to others or how we're sharing with others. And then with that, it might signify that we that we're asking ourselves to let go of old patterns where we weren't receiving that which we desire. Basically, patterns where we were self-inflicting pain. We were hurting ourselves because of wounds of unworthiness, wounds of undeservingness. And so now, as we've cleared out all of that density from October and had those profound shifts, which kind of catapulted us onto a new timeline, now in November we can ever so slightly begin to rest into the energies, rest into this new awareness of self, and work with it in a much more expansive way with beautiful things like sensuality and intimacy, and flip it round where perhaps our old life or our old self really approached those aspects with fear and shame and, you know, distortion. But now we've lifted the lid. So now we can start to approach and look at communication and intimacy and love and romance and stuff like that from a broader perspective. Also from a perspective of unity, from a place of integrity. And this is specific as well to you could say the feminist plight, as it were. And again, not raging against the machine or raging against the masculine, but becoming true in your voice and also how you own and operate in your body, right? So we're going to be able to see a lot of the old enslavement patterns or a lot of the old limitations around our perception of relationships, and then kind of break through new frontiers that will help, again, pioneer more sacred, more sacredness in our connections. And it does have a lot to do with us, again, getting to know who we are and meditating and healing where healing is needed. That's just inevitable. And yet, for us to really enjoy living in these bodies and enjoy relating to one another in a conscious way, we do have to be willing to uproot some of those painful limitation stories that we have around love and marriage and intimacy. And certainly, those of us who maybe grew up with religious institutions like Catholicism, but really like a lot of kind of spiritual or religious mindsets deny and distort sexuality almost to make it bad. So in the human collective energy field, what I intuit is that there is just a lot of trauma around our sexuality, and it's a little bit like fucked up, right? And so we're heading into like more expansive and new territory. One, because finally we're living in an age where Western women are able to speak up, and we're moving with this awareness where men and women alike are just becoming more aware of the invisible, becoming more aware of their femininity, becoming more aware of the mystery and the darkness, right? And it is like that's the kind of, I would say, the counterintuitivity or the paradox of it is that, we want to see femininity in this kind of over-sexualized and objectified way, and yet femininity is dark and mysterious, and that's what we're afraid to explore. And yet I really do feel that if we're gonna really open up to a greater loving capacity, then we have to start communicating about that in whatever way we can. And even as I speak these words, I'm like, it's intense, and because we have so many blocks around it. And over the past years I've been working through, I've really seen, judgments and shame and guilt around sexuality. So November is a month for us to really enjoy our sensuality, enjoy relating to other people, even if it's obviously, going to the beach or enjoying a surf or enjoying maybe taking up some yoga, or if you are in a relationship, like just finding new ways to enjoy one another, because that's like the juice of life, is being able to have joy and experience bliss and ecstasy. And a lot of this stuff for November, how fitting is that? So a lot of the stuff that I've just mentioned in this November update is actually really relevant to my new book. And there's no title yet, but I talk a lot about, it's a little bit further kind of out there as far as like we're talking about astrology and cosmic origins, which is further out there than even the Fearless Life Guide. But it's also going to tie into my own intuitive sexual energy exploration and how to honor and own my own sovereignty in the kind of old paradigm where the male energy dominates the feminine energy. And so rising into that sovereignty, and I gotta say, it's fucking scary. You know, you're facing fears and you're facing indoctrination that you're like you're gonna be penalized or punished for being free in your body and being powerful and expressing who you are. And yet I just know in my being that this last cycle, so like last year, so 2016 for a lot of us was like a humongous breakthrough. Like you could almost say like every lifetime we're around in these patterns, we were here for the same mission, and then this time we actually broke through a kind of frontier, as it were. And so now we really are living in a new paradigm and living in a new vibrational frequency on this planet. And so how we're working and feeling and relating to one another it's all going to take on new sort of energies, new manifestations. So I hope that was useful to you guys. Have a wonderful, wonderful November. I look forward to seeing you soon. And I'm just going to eat that's a banana peel. I've got some dragon fruit and some pineapple, and probably going to go out and get some coffee. Yeah, back on the coffee. Woo! All right, y'all, have an awesome day. Peace.